Hello, YouTube family. This is Professor Frederick Torrey T. Green coming to you again with the color of truth to share a Black history fact with you all that you may or may not have known. But for those of you who know, continue to pay it forward and share the information and knowledge with others. And for those who didn't know, then I want to be able to impart this information upon you so that you can share with future generations and that you will be able to empower those that you share this knowledge with. Coming to you live from Savannah, Georgia. We call it the seaport. But one of the interesting things I wanted to share with you all that I recently found out while reading a great book by Dr. Anderson called Dirty Little Secrets about Black history is Black history and other troublemakers. If you don't have this book, it's a real easy read, a great read for you, a book that will give you a lot of information. Dr. Claude Anderson is a notable scholar in history and African American history in particular. So what I want to share with you today is on page 79 as it relates to colonizing and colorizing. Blacks had their Ellis Island also. And many might not be familiar with Ellis Island, which is in the Carolinas and through that area. But just as European immigrants had their Ellis Island to welcome them to American shores, Black people, American only non immigrants, had Sullivan Islands as a major port of entry. Sullivan Island was located across the channel from the city of Charleston, South Carolina. It had been estimated that 2/5 of all Black Africans who arrived in America during the early 1800s passed through Sullivan Island. Sullivan Island was a clearinghouse for slaves bound for plantations throughout the South. Before entering the Charleston slave markets to be sold, they were washed up, sorted based upon sex, tribe, size, and attitude. Some were withheld from market to undergo a seasoning process. A few escaped to become maroons on neighboring John and Hilton Head Islands. Unlike Ellis Island, immigrants who were processed to a new world of hope and opportunity, Sullivan Island, though, represented a world of perpetual hopelessness, struggle, and exclusion. So, one of the interesting things that I found out recently by talking to my supervisor, and as I stated before in my first interview, that I will be using live interviews and the lived experience that oftentimes is proven effective because it's the truth. You can't beat someone's lived experience. And one of my supervisors, he's about 70 years old, I'm going to interview him. He told me, I didn't know, that Tybee Island, which is about, depending if you're coming from in town, Savannah, it's about 30 minutes to Tybee Island Beach. Hilton Head Island is about an hour away from Savannah. And he was telling me that at one point, Tybee Island was considered the Caucasian or the white island. And Hilton Head Island was actually the black beach. So individuals had to go to Hilton Head Island that were of African descent or were African American or black at that time or colored in the early 50s and 60s. And whites only could go on Tybee Island. And I did not know that. And so it was very interesting to hear that. So during that time in the 50s and the 60s, he said he remembered the Ku Klux Klan coming through Savannah and having parades. That wouldn't have been my experience, but as he was a young boy, he saw it. And later on, as you tune into The Color of Truth, you will be able to see that interview. Another interesting thing is that if you ever go to Charleston, South Carolina, oftentimes I like to go to Charleston, South Carolina to go in the market area. And there's a street called Chalmers Street. And the old slave market where enslaved people were sold all up and down Chalmers Street, all up and down the downtown area of Charleston, South Carolina, you can still see the remnants. If you ever go to Charleston, South Carolina, please take a tour of the old slave market located on Chalmers Street in Charleston, South Carolina. And you'll find a lot of different interesting relics, books, as well as other interesting facts about Charleston, South Carolina. I just wanted to share that with you in hopes that it will empower you, give you some information that you did not know, and that you can go to Charleston, South Carolina, or go to Hilton Head Island, which now we kind of look at Hilton Head Island as a white island, but traditionally all of those islands were owned by blacks. They're maroons, those that came in off the boats and they found refuge on those islands. Sapelo is another island, and we'll dig deeper into that maybe in another session of Color of Truth. So thank you for tuning in. Smash them likes and subscribe to the channel. It helps it to grow. And I will continue every night or every evening or sometime during the day, every day, as long as I have breath in my body, to give you a Black history fact or to tell you about the contributions that people of the African diaspora and people who are descendants of Africans or African Americans, people of color, Negroes, and the contributions they made to society. Thank you so much. See you next time. The Color of Truth.